Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Really good to be here and meet you and talking to you about a subject that I am particularly passionate about. I thought I'd start, though, by just telling a little bit of a story. I've got 3 kids. Monday evenings are quite chaotic in our household. And when my wife and I were discussing the logistics yesterday about how we were going to be, 2 of us were going to be in 4 different places at the same time. I came up with a solution and I made the statement, well, of course, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And I didn't think any more of that until a few hours later. I was putting my youngest, Annabelle, to bed, and she said to me, "Daddy, why are you going to kill the 2 birds?" And I quickly responded and explained I wasn't actually going to kill 2 birds, but it was just a phrase that was used, that grown-ups used to describe solving 2 problems with 1 solution. So then she was trying to understand with her literal little mind, why birds are problematic, and I had to explain her that, with the exception of the seagull that had taken her chips over the weekend at the seaside, generally birds aren't a problem. But that phrase, 2 birds, 1 stone, solve 2 problems with 1 solution, has been running through my head since, and actually provides quite a useful link to the session today. So I'm going to talk about 2 problems that I'm sure pretty much everybody here today, your organisations are facing, and then a solution that can solve both in one shot. So problem 1 is financial anxiety, financial stress. Your people are stressed, and quite possibly you are as well. The media are doing a really good job at the moment of scaring us all, half to death with the concerns that are coming down the path. And number 2, the second problem is the creaking employee-employer relationship that we have, the connection. And in many cases, our love of work is now lost. And this, of course, brings us to the phrase of to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or to solve 2 problems with 1 solution. So those problems being financial stress and employee engagement. And the solution, I'm going to talk to you today about how financial education is actually a very simple and natural way to solve both of those solutions. First, though, just to dissect the problems in a bit more detail. So I'm going to take you through a lot of data today. I know there's a few clients in the audience, and those people who've worked with us before will know that we love data at Nudge. It empowers everything that we do, feeds into our solution, helps our clients understand their employees. And one of the places that we get that data is from our annual research. This is from the latest research that we ran, which was about 3 or 4 months ago. We surveyed 7,000 people across 14 countries in partnership with Census-wide, and it gives us a really good barometer as to the financial well-being of the world. And perhaps unsurprisingly, the standout finding this year was stress. People are really stressed about their money. So we can see here, last year, 45% of people reported being anxious about their money. A year on, 70%. So phenomenal increase there. And I don't think it's surprising when we consider what's going on in the world. Furthermore, 62% of people depressed and 56% ashamed, which is such a sad thing to kind of read, that people have got themselves into the situation where they're ashamed with their money, and that's a real problem when it comes to getting people to face up and start to fix the problems that they've got. And this isn't just a UK problem, this is a global issue as well. And I've had a few discussions on the stand today with people who've done a lot over the last couple of years in terms of mental health and mental well-being, and are now looking to financial well-being. And I think 2 of these stats in particular show how strong that connection is between the 2. For those of you with global colleagues, if my screen will, there we go, flick, you'll see that you'll see some of the dynamics here. So, as I say, not just a UK problem by any means, and unsurprisingly, across the world, the problem is particularly acute right now because of the cost of living crisis. That's what people are feeding back to us, that people are worried. We've got a huge amount of data beyond these charts, so feel free to come and see us on stand 3 if you'd like to register for any of that. So that's the first problem, financial stress. In terms of the second problem, engagement, employee engagement. There's lots of industry stats on this beyond our own. I know REBA have produced a lot themselves in partnership with organisations. But in terms of our research, what we found, as you can see here, 71% of workers feel interchangeable and replaceable. I mean, how depressing is that? The thought that your employer doesn't care about you and you can just be cast off and get somebody else in. But I guess it's potentially not surprising when we think about the journey we've had over the last couple of years. Lockdown forced that disconnection, forced that isolation. We've now got this real problem with regards to the pay gap. So people are reading in the press about 10% inflation. They're hearing about the strikes where the unions are pushing for 9-10% wage inflation. And meanwhile, organisations are budgeting 3-4-5%. And so there's a gap there. There's a disconnect. And people are therefore, in many cases, falling out of love with their employers. And I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, the Great Resignation. I've not heard that for a few months now. But it was already a problem, and I think the problem we've got with mismatched pay rises is going to kind of really hit home over the second half of this year. There is encouraging, and I guess the cost of that poor connection is quite striking. So research from Gallup, which many of you will be aware of, they found that disengaged employees, as you can see here, much more likely to be absent. Much less productive at work and ultimately less profitable for employers as well. And when you translate that into pounds or dollars, that equates to, Gallup tell us, that equates to 34% of a disengaged employee's salary. So with an average full-time salary in the UK being about 38k a year, for every disengaged person, that's a loss of about £13,000. So people are disengaged. It's costing business, and that really is that second problem, employee engagement. There is really encouraging news, though. So what we also found in the research is that people want to be connected with their employer. After all, connection is, of course, such a natural human instinct, and I think there is actually an opportunity, as we have these blurred boundaries between work and home, for organisations to support people with topics that perhaps they weren't able to pre-COVID, and money being one of those. What's quite interesting as well, when you start to look at this according to different demographics and in this case ages. So this allows organisations to really start to see how different people, how confident, how comfortable, how happy they are with their employer relationship. So let's say a couple of problems there is people are stressed, and meanwhile people aren't feeling particularly engaged with their employers. So what's the solution? Well, the great news is that money actually provides the perfect conduit here. As I know you all know, money isn't optional. No matter who we are, no matter where we are, no matter how much or how little money we've got, money is a constant in all of our lives. I can't think of anything that connects us all in the same way that money does. So everybody has the opportunity to better understand their money. And I think people know that, employees know that. So we can see here 68% of respondents saying that they would use financial education if offered it. So people know that, they know they're anxious, they want to improve their situation. You haven't got the taboo that perhaps there was a few years ago about talking about money with your employer. So people want help. And I think also from an employer's perspective, there's quite a strong case here around if people understand their money, we've got loads of data that shows that people better understand and better utilise their employee benefits. And why do we provide employee benefits? We provide employee benefits for that connection to support people. And so there's a big opportunity here about benefits education as well, helping people understand their benefits and drive that employee engagement that way. So hopefully we can all see how and agree how powerful financial education can be, not only in terms of reducing that anxiety, helping people feel more comfortable about their money, but also building that bond between employee and employer. How does that actually work? What does it actually look like? So at Nudge, we provide personalised education to employees of about 300 employers. We're doing that across 86 countries, and the way we talk about it is empowerment. So you can see here, it's that employer's use of financial education to empower people. So it's not about telling people what to do. It's not about financial advice. It's about helping people change their relationship with money, helping people think about money in a different way, think more proactively, have a plan, understand their goals and their needs and their dreams, and really work themselves to improve their financial circumstance. We can't pay off people's debts. We can't give them the 10% pay rises, but what we can do is give them a more positive way to think about their money. And we can see that as a result of that, people appreciate that, and there's loads of data that flows in terms of how that works. In terms of how to actually deliver that financial education to reduce that anxiety and to improve that connection. So we've got lots of experience, worked with some amazing organisations and touched over 1.5 million people across the world. And so we've seen lots of programmes. Most work. Occasionally we'll inherit a programme that isn't working. And I think to kind of share our experience, that the characteristics of the programmes that work comes down to three things. The first is a programme being impartial. As experienced reward folk, you now recognise that not all financial education is the same. You know, different providers will have different objectives. What we're generally seeing as well is employers becoming increasingly risk averse at the idea of facilitating products or advice to their people. And so what we've seen is organisations wanting a clean, no-risk solution that really focuses on changing people's relationship with money rather than being centred around products. And we're also seeing that with the user feedback. People want a safe space to learn about money. If they're learning about wills, they don't want to be phoned up a week later with the threat of being sold one. So it's about providing people that safe space from impartiality. The second is a genuine focus on skills and knowledge. So a lot of our clients define financial well-being as having confidence and control. That confidence and control comes from skills and knowledge, and that skills and knowledge comes from financial education. So it's about genuinely driving that behavioural change. People saving more likely to have a budget, reporting improved confidence with their money. And the last one is around making sure it's inclusive. So as I say, it doesn't matter who you are, how much you earn, where you live, everybody has the opportunity to better understand their money. And so it's about providing something for everybody, not just the wealthy people or not just the people living paycheck to paycheck. To, I guess, bring it to life. So an example here of a client who's used financial education to drive that connection and had a measurable result is Accenture. So Accenture are a very loyal client of ours. We're doing a lot of work with them. So part of their health and wellbeing program, they participate, as I'm sure a lot of you do, in the Great Places to Work survey. And they were doing really well. All of the results were trending up from one year to the next, with the exception of financial wellbeing. It was flat. And so they dug a bit deeper, and what they recognised is the missing link between financial education and their existing offering. So they launched impartial financial education. Within 9 months of launching it, they had 46% of their people using the service. Sorry, it says 43 there, it should be 46. And they also got some powerful insights coming back from it in terms of what we call nudgeonomics. So particularly seeing that they had a lot of people learning about what we call mental wealth. So this combination between mental health and money. Couples finances was up there in the top 3, as well as budgeting. Roll on to the survey next year. What they saw is a 13% increase up their Great Places to Work score with regards to financial wellness. So a real example there of how they used financial education to improve that connection with their people, and that was measured through their Great Places to Work survey. Thank you for your time. It's amazing how quickly 16 minutes has gone. It's been a pleasure talking to you about what some of our clients are doing. I say this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of data, so if anybody wants to understand a bit more about this, please come and see us. But we've also got a few minutes now if there are any questions.